Sending holiday and happy holiday wishes to one and all my friends. Thanks so much for watching us. I'm Jason Salas. This is KUM News Extra, and we thank you for tuning in on KUM TV or watching us on YouTube. And we get the show started off with quite the remarkable individual. I had the great pleasure of meeting Roy Burlew the other day, who originally hails from Virginia, and he has had a pretty amazing life story. He's been a member of the U.S. Navy, served nobly in defense of our country. He has been a professor at one of Korea's most prestigious universities. But the thing I find the most interesting about this wonderful man is he has a history and a commitment to mentorship that you would not believe. Roy is joining me right now in the traditional garb, I must say, Roy, of a tenured Korean professor.
Well, this would be, in the Chosun dynasty, this would be a Korean scholar or a Korean teacher's garb. And this is actually the minsok, the common man's hanbok.
And you wear it very well. And how long were you in Korea?
25 years.
Okay. And you've been on Guam for a little bit now.
A year and a half now.
Yeah, back and forth, though. You've been
but I've been coming here for years on vacation. This was my midterm place. I taught a technical writing class, so I would have the students get their papers ready for publication, and I'd come here and sit on the beach and have some time, because if I'm in my office, the phone's ringing or somebody's wanting a meeting or something like that. So you know how that works.
Yeah, Mother Nature does have a tendency to provide pretty extravagant backdrops here when you're trying to work.
It's nice, yeah, and it's with a pina colada in your hand, it's a whole lot easier to go through a boring technical paper.
That can also contribute to the creative process.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so obviously education is in your DNA. It's what you do, but
it is.
Again, what I find most remarkable is you have this history of mentorship where you actually take it upon yourself. You know, this isn't something that you get paid for. It's not something that, a vocation. It's a labor of love. So tell me about how you started mentoring young people and how far does that go?
Well, I think education is mentoring. I think modern day teaching has broken itself down into classes. I mean, if you look at Socrates and Aristotle and people, they spent hours with their students. And the students learned life. I'm convinced that young people spell love T-I-M-E. If you don't have time for people, so I used to spend 30, 40 hours a week in my office, and you'd be surprised. And I started seeing, after the IMF time, it was 1997, after the IMF time, a lot of kids were dropping out. And they just unexplained, and they'd be gone the next day. And so I started talking with the office, and I just decided to use the blessings that I had to put a few fires out.
When you say fires, what particular are these young people from?
Well, these are young people
unfortunate, underprivileged circumstances.
In some cases, it's just a matter of a father dies at an inopportune time, and the tuition's due next month. These sorts of things. In the cases of when I went to the international campus, we actually had a lot of kids that were dropping through the cracks because they came for the free first year. And then when they got to the second year, a lot of them would lose the scholarship, or the school wouldn't have funding or whatever. So I got into that. When my father died, I set up a scholarship for the nursing school and educated 3 young ladies that they're like daughters to me now. In fact, in January, one of them's coming to visit me in Guam.
That's amazing.
I love it.
Okay, that's another thing that's so interesting. In the sheer number of people that you have mentored over the years, and you've been doing this work for, you said, like what now, 3, 4
20 years at Yonsei, but I worked with the orphan kids when I was when I first went to Korea. So.
How many lives have you reached out to? How many people have you mentored?
I had an interview with the Yonsei Annals, and they asked me to total them up. So at that point, it was 27. It's somewhere between 27 and 36. I actually tried to figure it out, but there's so many names, I kind of lose track. And
what would the scope of this? I know you define it as mentorship, but it's teaching, it's imparting wisdom, it's passing down life lessons. It's also preparing them for the next level, because as you were telling me, a lot of the young people that you have mentored have actually gone on to very, very high levels in academia and business and just succeeded at life.
One that called me this morning to wish me happy Thanksgiving, she's Vietnamese. She made her first turkey dinner. She's probably the only Vietnamese girl in Idaho.
Okay.
So
hopefully there were some potatoes with that as well.
I helped her with some of those things, and also helped her through Duke. So it can range from a very small amount to a a very large amount. But I don't really want to get into the numbers unless.
Sure, humility being a virtue.
Well, and it's I don't know. It's just not what the Bible says. Don't let your left hand know what your right hand's doing.
Exactly. Would you consider that is that like a major driving force? And this
I'm
this
spiritual.
Is
I'm not organized religious, but I'm spiritual. I had a very wonderful grandfather who got me started in life, and he was a teacher. And I think when I decided to become a teacher, we were walking up in Pike County, Kentucky, and this giant of a man came running over and just grabbed my grandfather and lifted him completely off the ground. And he was a massive man, and he said, "Oh, thank you, teacher. Thanks to you, I'm a supervisor at the mine now and all this." And boy, at first I wanted to kick him because my grandfather wasn't a big man, but it had an effect on me.
Okay.
And he used to mentor. He would sit and just talk to me for hours. And I learned so much. I think we're losing the generational wisdom.
Okay, well, the biggest question I would say would probably be the most obvious, right? You're doing this out of the kindness of your own heart and to reach another human being to hopefully improve the quality of their life and give them a chance to succeed. You're not getting any federal subsidies to do this.
No. I don't even claim it on my taxes.
Yeah, exactly. So why do this kind of work?
Well, why not? When I grew up in the mountains, that was the way people were. You mowed the widow woman's grass because she couldn't mow her grass. We painted her houses. And I remember, I think I told you, we had a fire at a neighbor's house, and half my clothes were gone. And my mother said, "Well, that boy's your size." So I think I was trained for this. And I look at everything in terms of scholarships. I drive an old car, I've cashed my house out and things, but I don't borrow money, and I think that's the way I want to live my life, and so far it's good. Okay, well, final question before we go to our commercial break. It's an amazing life story, and thank you for sharing. Sure. What advice and what words would you like to impart on other people who are thinking of doing mentorship, or it's like I feel I have something that I could contribute to somebody that could hopefully get them out of a bad place, give them a shot? Do your homework. Do your homework. That was one thing I prayerfully consider this, but I also talk with the school, and I also find out, who's who and what their story is. And I actually talk with the kids several times to see where they're going, see what they have to do. If it was just raw luck, I'd have had half and half success stories and half failures. And so far, every student that I've supported has gone on to finish their program. That is amazing. So you're batting 1,000. So far. All right, well done. Well, we thank you for sharing, especially during the holidays. It's an incredibly inspirational story. Well, thank you. Hopefully we'll find more people like you in the world, but you're really, really unique, and that's pretty awesome. Well, I was really impressed with you when we met. It's, I think through Shalyn is kind of Guam's mom, and a lot of interesting people on Guam. It's one of the few places where you still have an opportunity to break through. And that's one thing I see in education is the windows closing. The world is turning feudal, and I'm kind of trying to push a couple of these kids through the door before it closes. Well, you certainly are doing the Lord's work, and we thank you for sharing your story with us. Thank you, sir. All right, happy holidays to you. Okay, thank you. All right, please stay tuned, everybody. We will be right back with more stuff coming up on Extra right after this.